Welcome to Business as a Magical Practice, where your business is the vehicle for your self-integration and soul evolution. My name is Sam Garcia, and I'm the founder of Dirty Alchemy Digital Marketing. And I'll be guiding you through how you can use your business as a spiritual practice and what magical businesses are doing to hit their goals and change the world. Together, we'll be relating the mystical to the world of business so that our work can unite spirit and matter, shadow and light, conscious and unconscious. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Today we have a very, very special guest. We have global oracle and hypnotist Nathaly Granja here. And she has this very long bio. I usually cut them down, but it's just so good that I'm gonna read it all. So if you don't know Nathaly, over the last 8+ years, she has been featured on ABC and CBS, working with high-profile leaders in Washington, D.C. as their personal Reiki master, teacher, and hypnotist. Now she works with awakened entrepreneurs that have created powerful movements in their respective industries. She's the founder of the Granja Vortex method, where she teaches facilitators how to create customized hypnotic tracks that deepen client transformation. Nathaly is especially gifted at making big cosmic conversations into very practical and profitable action steps. She can see things that have not yet manifested, hear unconscious patterns, retrieve soul history, and empathically feel exactly what you're experiencing, which has made her the go-to oracle, global oracle, hypnotist, and multi-generational healer that she is today. Over the last 4 years, she has helped her clients scale $12,000 to $100,000 months and counting as coaches, healers, and intuitives, simply by guiding their energetics, psychic gifts, mindset, and strategy into a new state of being, owning their most abundant timeline. So welcome to Business as a Magical Practice, Nathaly.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for reading the whole bio.
It's good.
Yeah.
I couldn't cut it out. And you guys, so we're recording this at the end of December, but this is coming out in January, and the conversation is of goal setting and resolutions. Like maybe you already threw them out the window as soon as like the second week of January. But I'm really excited to talk to Nathaly about understanding desire with goal setting. So tell us all the juicy details, Nathaly.
Yeah. So, desire, I feel like can sometimes be a really loaded word because it feels like, oh, well, what do my desires have to do with like creating a strategic business plan or my goals? And I think that this is where people can oftentimes miss the mark on what they actually co-create for their life because they either have some sort of block or story around accessing what they truly desire and actually speaking it into fruition. I work with I in the past I've worked with people just starting the business and also multiple 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs who are, always in this planning place. They're always launching, they're always looking for the next thing to make sure that they're sustaining, their income and sustaining and scaling, not just sustaining, but actually scaling. And something that we often look at is like, okay, what's your desire beneath the ego driven, I need next month to be higher than the last in order for it to mean something, right? Like, what is the desire that you actually have in your body? Because a lot of the work that I do is bridging like the intuitive aspect of the oracle that is your body into using it as a tool to actually create money and needle moving, practical strategies for the 3D practical side of living here. So I think that desire is, you have to understand your relationship with desire. Does it feel unsafe to actually feel in your body? Does it feel too wooey? Does it feel too feminine? Do we dismiss desire and override it so that we can look at the template strategy that we've been given? So I think the first step is really understanding like your relationship to desire. And after that, it's like, do you follow through with what's present in your body? Do you follow through with the desire that you have? Or again, are you going into overriding your desire because you think it's supposed to look like something else? And one of like the secret ways that I think people are surprised by when they're scaling in their business is that sometimes what helps them be more seen, receive more clients, make more money is actually that intuitive moment where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to go live, or I'm going to send out this email. I'm going to reach out to this person. I'm going to follow back up. It's like this desire that's just alive in your body, and you're following that excitement to no attachment. It's just, I'm following it because it feels safe and good in my body. And those are sometimes the bigger needle movers compared to what we think it's supposed to look like. And oh, well, it's Monday, so I'm not posting. My post days are Wednesdays and Fridays, right? It's like it's going outside of like the norm and the templates of what we've been given.
That is so good. I want, there's one phrase you said that I want to scoot back to. Can you explain more about the oracle that is your body?
Yes. Yes, I love that, because here's the thing about like intuition and accessing this medicine that people think that we have to call like these 1-800 psychics to like access, and it isn't true. Everyone's body is the oracle. It's just learning how to tune in to what I call the inner oracle, learning how to tune into that voice, because your body is always communicating with you. And sometimes based on, the type of trauma we've had, or the type of life experiences we've had, the type of conditioning we've had, it's not necessarily an easy thing to feel what our body is telling us. It's a little bit easier said than done to like, what is my body, feeling? Sometimes it hasn't felt safe in the past to connect with our body. And so people lose the oracle. People lose the oracle as their body, as the tool, because we just don't know. We're also not taught how to connect with ourselves in that way, right? So, take being a child, for instance, feeling like, oh, actually, that doesn't feel good. I don't want to go to that person's house, or I don't want to communicate with this person, or I don't feel good around this person. But sometimes the parent is kind of like, oh, don't be rude. You have to say hello. Oh, don't. And it's actually showing us to override what feels true to us. So that's a really common and simple experience, but that happens throughout our entire life. And then we do it to ourselves, where it's like, oh, don't be dramatic, or, oh, don't overthink it, or, oh, don't be this. And it's actually your body communicating something super intelligent to you that is always guiding you to the higher place, what I call the most abundant timeline. Everyone's most abundant timeline looks different. That's why, like, I'm not super attached to, oh, I need to make X amount of money per month. It's like, no, this is a timeline that I desire. And I know that everything I'm receiving is supporting that. And it doesn't have to be this cookie cutter image of what other people, what person A wants to do and person C wants to do doesn't have to be what person B wants, right? It's like understanding, when we look into our most abundant timeline, what does that look like for us? What does that mean for us? Because some might want a really big house, and someone else is like, actually, I want to make sure my kids, are able to go to a great private school. It's like two different desires altogether. And your body is always going to lead you to that desire. That's why you have to understand what your desire is, and not be unconsciously driven by like the subconscious fears or the subconscious programming that we've been given by society, by our family, by certain, religious belief systems, or whatever it might be.
So I've heard a few somatic therapists say that the body is the subconscious mind. Does that track with your own experience as a hypnotist and as someone who uses the body a lot?
I think, I haven't necessarily put it in those words, but I think it's fair to say that the body, and I think there's actually a book called this, like The Body is Keeping the Score.
Yes.
And
like how
so
trauma lives in your body and all of
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah. And so that makes sense to me, that like your body is actually responding from the subconscious, because your nervous system like is, anytime you're deregulated from your nervous system, it's because of what your subconscious mind deems as safe or unsafe. So yeah, that makes total sense to me. And that's why connecting with your body and understanding the language, understanding what's happening, this is kind of like a silly way of looking at it, but it's kind of like a clear way of looking at it. I remember being a kid and if I would like, oh, my mom, like my stomach hurts, mom, like what do I do? And my mom would be like, okay, what kind of stomach ache is it? And I'm like, I don't know, it just hurts. And she would be like, no, are you feeling like there's a lot of air? Or do you feel like something you ate is making your stomach kind of feel a little bit loose? Or, and she would like give me the different descriptions of what I could be experiencing within like my tummy ache. That is kind of like decoding the language of your body. Sometimes we just dismiss like, oh, I have anxiety about this, or like, oh, that just doesn't feel good, or yeah, I really want to do this. But it's so general that there is people oftentimes don't have the language to deconstruct or decode what is actually happening within the body. Like kind of like the smaller sensations, because those smaller sensations are giving you a bigger picture. So it makes sense to me that the body would be the subconscious mind. But even sometimes the word like subconscious feels like not the right word, because I actually think it's your higher mind. Like your body is the higher mind. There's nothing sub about the subconscious mind. I think that sometimes that language can be a little bit confusing. So you'll hear me interchangeably say unconscious mind or subconscious mind, but that's really what it's all the same.
And I know that some people have, and you touched on this a little bit, but I know some people have a hard time identifying, am I desiring this because of conditioning or because I'm seeing everyone else do it? Is there a way to determine clean desires? I don't know if that's the right term. I'm gonna use clean desires.
Yeah, no, that is
the term. Or like, is that even a thing at all?
Absolutely.
Or any desire bad?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important, especially if you're in a group container. So if you're like in a mastermind or a group program, in my experience, what happens is that you'll see one person, say, oh, I had a $20,000 month and now we're doing A, B, C, and D. And they start getting excited about their vision to keep going and going and going. And then everyone else is like, oh, yeah, like, or like exactly like it's an Instagram echo chamber. It's like, everyone is doing the same thing. It's like everyone's being a digital nomad. Everyone is building a house. Everyone is getting a personal chef. Everyone is getting this same thing. It's like, it's almost becoming cookie cutter. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of those things. That could be exactly what you want. And also it's just becoming like an echo chamber of, well, that's what this spiritual person's doing, or that's what this business person is doing. So that's just must be what's next. And I have seen, I have the huge privilege of getting to see behind the curtains of, really successful, monetarily successful people. And it's interesting to be able to see how even at seven-figure ranges of income, that sometimes people will still get caught up in, well, I think I'm supposed to do this because that's what other seven-figure people do, so I'm just going to do it too. And that's where people start getting caught up in creating a life that's actually not what they've like really want to be doing. And it's like they turn in like the 9 to 5 like desire like timeline into, this is what it looks like to be an online entrepreneur timeline. And I really invite people to just tune in. I call it visioning. And it is, what if you could just not have to worry about what other people are experiencing, what other people are doing, putting your blinders on, and you're just tuning into your heart space. I think your heart space is the part of your body that never lies. And it's also the portal to what I call like your inner universe, right? If you try to do it too much from the mind is just a program. You program it to either work in your favor, or it's been programmed from your life experience. So it's more about tuning into the heart. Your heart is always going to guide you. It's the connection to the higher self, the most abundant timeline. And when you can tune in and feel like, I'll ask questions like, do I want to stay in, for example, right now I live in Colorado. Do I want to stay in Colorado? Like, does that feel good to me? And I'll see what my heart responds. Or do I want to offer group programs? See what my heart responds. Do I want to open up my books for more one-to-one? See what my heart responds. And even with pricing too, like I think that's where people also get caught up. They look at what's kind of like what other people are setting their prices at instead of valuing themselves and the value of their work and then setting a price from that place. They're looking at other people's gardens and saying, oh, well, that's what I should be doing, or maybe I should do it like this. And again, we start creating from a place that's not rooted or grounded in our desire. It's rooted and grounded in other people's desires. And sometimes we'll see that in like, oh, how come it's all happening really fast for that person, but for me it's not happening as quickly? I would re-examine what you're actually trying to go after, and if there's something underneath it that might be more based on what you think you're supposed to be doing at this time in your life, at this age, whatever label you want to give it, or if it's, not. So that's what I would call like visioning from the heart.
And for anyone who's not watching on YouTube, Nathaly was rubbing the center of her chest. And I'm sure that actually helps in the process of tuning into that, to connect with that. One thing that popped in my head when you were talking about that is it seems like safety is a really big element in this, where a lot of us can find there's safety in going after what everyone else wants, because that's if you don't trust your own desires and you don't trust your own decisions. And it almost seems like there needs to first be a practice of finding your own safety within yourself and within your own choices.
Yeah, I call this piece like the evidence piece. Some like a question that I ask when I'm creating a customized hypnotic track for someone is like, what would need to happen for you to be like, oh my gosh, it's working? Oh my gosh, like I know that it's happening because this thing happened. It's like you're looking for evidence, you're looking for proof. And that's normal. That makes total sense that as humans, we're looking around to see like, have other people done it before? Okay, well, if that person does it, then I can do it. Like we're looking for evidence. I'm not going to make that wrong about the human process at all. Where it does get kind of sticky is when we're not willing to follow through on our desires because we don't see other people doing what we want to do. And I think right now, I think probably most people can attest to this, that this has been a time where we, over the last maybe 3 to 5 years, have been so called to be visionaries, have been so called to be like leaders in a time where it feels like leadership has been deconstructing. And what's required of visionaries and leaders is to sometimes go first. And we have to create a new capacity within our nervous system, within our heart, within our mind. Mind comes last, because again, the mind's a program. We have to find a new space of like, okay, I can trust myself, right? Like I can trust that if I just take this one step, I'm still okay. And something I like to do with my like one-to-one clients when they, for example, having to give a client their money back because it just doesn't feel like an aligned client anymore. That I think has been, it's a really scary thing to do. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to refund someone. Like it feels so backwards as a business owner. But I think at some point, maybe all business owners will be there to give a refund, either because it doesn't feel like a good fit or whatever happened. And I, with when my clients experience something like that, and they'll message me on Box and they're like, oh my gosh, I did it. And I'll immediately say, and look, there's a roof over your head. There's food to eat. There's money in your bank account. There's people who love you. It's all good. You're still safe. Like there's this illusionary veil or boundary of like what makes us feel unsafe or safe that we have created to protect our own egos. And people often are afraid of failing or rejection or, not being seen as like perfect. Perfectionism will come in and be like, oh, well, I launched it really sloppy and what are people going to think and all of the things. And this is all illusionary, like safety, right? Perfectionism is keeping you safe from your ego being hurt by someone else projecting something onto you. So the safety is important. And it's also important to understand what is illusionary, like what is created just for our own ego.
So good. I want to switch gears a little bit because I'm curious about your own story. Have you always been, did you like grow up as an oracle and all this thing, or was there a spiritual awakening? And I'm like so curious about your entrepreneurial journey. So tell us something.
Oh yeah. So the first question, like, have I always been an oracle, is yes, I have always been an intuitive, but like many healers and intuitives, I had situations in my life experience that disconnected me from my body. And when you're disconnected from your body, again, you're disconnected from the vessel, the psychic channel. And I would receive like intuitive dreams, and I could perceive people's intentions underneath their words. So that was like something I always had. But to the extent now where I'm able to tune in energetically, do psychic surgery, see things that haven't manifested yet, all that type of stuff was developed over time in creating a relationship and safety with my body. So that means when the message would come through, I would have to act on it, have to believe it in order for that muscle to be fortified and for it to just stream through more and more and more and more. Otherwise, if you're not listening to your intuition, you can't expect that more psychic information is going to come through because you don't have the capacity to hold it. It's almost like your body's like, well, you're not listening anyway, so I'm not going to, like, it just shuts off. So the more you practice it, and of course there's like tools, and I teach intuition development, so there's things that you can do to kind of regain the safety within your body to start opening up those channels. That's personally been my life experience. And then my original journey was that I wanted to be a therapist, and I was going to school for psychology. And I actually saw this TED Talk where, like, at that point I was like really into like world religions and the mind and intuition and Reiki, energy healing, all this stuff. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to do that like later on in life, probably when I retire. I was the kind of person that had it all figured out. I was like, I'm going to get my PsyD so I can become a doctor in psychology, be a therapist, make a lot of money. And then when I retire, that I'll probably open like a wellness center or something where I could just like be in my intuitive gifts, because I didn't think I would ever make a lot of money from it. And I was like, the only way I can make money is through this traditional route of psychology. And like, of course, the value underneath that was, of course, I love helping people. I love the mind. I love learning about trauma and reprogramming and all that. But when I was looking at it from a practical perspective, I knew a value in my life was financial freedom. So that was the journey I was going on. And then I saw this TED Talk one day. And a TED Talk is like an 8-minute, it's very short compared to like other TED Talks. And it was about someone who had gone to Harvard, and he had gone to like a reunion 20 years later. And he was like, I was looking around, and everyone who had majored in something that they thought was going to make them money and then like followed through in that industry was like unhealthy, divorced, hated their job, like totally hated their life. And he's like, here I went to Harvard and I majored in history, art history. And everyone's like, how are you ever going to make money from that? And he's like, here I am, so happy with my life, love what I do, and make just as much money as they do. But no one believed that that was possible. So then he like kind of gave some prompts around like finding your life purpose in these 4 or 5 questions. And I was like, yeah, like I'm going to school and I'm doing all of this stuff because I think it's going to make me money. Whereas I'm spending all of my time and money investing in working with teachers, buying courses, reading all the books, doing all the things, and spending all of my free time doing all of this like intuitive hypnosis and all of like this stuff, this mysticism stuff. I'm like, I might as well get paid for it. So in came that journey. And as soon as I said yes to that and I decided to stop going to school like the traditional route, everything opened up. It was like a big psychedelic experience. And I did experiment with psychedelics as well that helped open up it helped me understand where my ego was like afraid to go through on this timeline, especially because my family are immigrants. So it was like, what? Like, we can't, you're supposed to go to school and figure this out. Like, why are you going backwards? Like, it was a little bit like, what are you going to do for money? Like, they just didn't understand that there could be a possible financial opportunity in this timeline. So I ended up, getting all these different certifications because I was following my desire, following my excitement to do energy healing and this and that and the third. And I ended up working at a holistic wellness center in the DC area. And I started to work with clients that were in a very DC political dense place, but it taught me so much. It taught me so much about seeing a timeline of people who were like secretly intuitive or secretly, having a spiritual awakening, but working in, a DC government area that there's just no room for that. There's no room for feeling. It's very black and white. There's no color, there's nothing. And I started to work with those clients, and I knew I wanted to be online. I knew I wanted to be location independent. And after years, I think it was about 7 years of in-person experience with hypnosis and Reiki and just doing different workshops and kind of like having a full brick and mortar business, I decided to go full-time online. And that wasn't easy either. I went on and I was like, I totally thought I would put a flyer up and people would come flocking. Like, it was just going to be like floodgates. And I remember like putting up my first little post and I was like, where is everybody? Like, what's going on? I didn't realize that there was this whole world of like marketing and business and being seen and branding. And so that's been a whole journey all on its own. But I've always worked with leaders. I've always worked with leaders, either in government or entrepreneurs. And, now I work with what I call awakened entrepreneurs, people who are dedicated to doing the work and also being leaders, because I think those are the best kinds of leaders. So when I came into the online space, I decided to blend hypnosis, intuition, energy work, and coaching and formulate this kind of my own practice from that.
So you're such an amazing expander for the people who are listening right now, who are hypnotists or healers or psychics, because you've built a really successful business. And would you mind sharing what revenue level you're at right now? And
Yeah,
the level of success you can build?
Yeah. So it's funny because I remember people being like, what the fuck? Like, how are you ever going to make money like off of doing this? Like, you have to go the traditional route. And now I'm at multiple six figures doing absolutely what I love, creating a lifestyle that I want to live by. And of course, in this process, I learned that I'm a human design projector. And I'm like, yeah, I really do need a lot of rest. And I can't imagine having done like the traditional route of like hours that would be required of me. And yeah, so now to be able to create a multiple six-figure business, I know that one day, no doubt I'll be at 7 figures in such a small amount of time, in a paradigm, let's say in a world where people have looked at healers and oracles and intuitives and been like, okay, like rolling your eyes and like considering it very much like a 1-800 type of industry. And it's like, no, that's not true at all. Like, if you hone in on your craft and you're consistent about sharing your message and being good at what you do, I think that's really important, is being good at what you do, because word of mouth is a real thing, and getting into the mouths of the right people. I'm at a place where I don't have to worry about, can I afford this? Can I get this? It's like, I know I can. And that's a whole level of freedom that I think that I wouldn't have been able to access so quickly had I not just allowed my desire to be present at the forefront.
Yeah. And because I have met so many like intuitive, psychic, spiritual people who think about going down the route that you've gone down and they eventually switch over to like, I'm a coach. Like they'll just label themselves as a coach because like it's starting to become a field where you can make a decent amount of money. But like you go to your website and it's like Oracle. So it's such a fun demonstration of this shit works. So what would you
sure
say?
does.
Yeah, what would you say have been key factors in your own success?
That's a great question. I think feeling the first thing that comes to mind is feeling safe to experiment what works for you. For example, I've had to decondition myself from things that I picked up in the first 2 years of my business. I think it correlates to like this online boom. It was happening around this like online boom of like I was on everyone's Facebook page and consuming everyone's lives of like what I was supposed to be doing. And I had notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of like what it means to like do business and marketing. And I even did like I had in-person mentors from my hypnosis training and their business expertise and stuff. And it totally works for them for sure. But I was trying it and it wasn't working for me. And I had to feel like I could trust myself enough to say, you know what? If my desire and my intuition has taken me this far, I'm gonna have to like follow my trust and intuition from the information that I've been given, right? Like I've learned so much from amazing mentors, but again, I've had to have discernment to be like not everything is going to be for me just because it's worked for them. So I think that's number one is like letting myself have that freedom to experiment. And kind of to piggyback off of that, number two is like continuing to experiment. Like I didn't say, oh, well, this didn't work, so I'm throwing the whole thing away. It was like, okay, this didn't work, but maybe this will, and maybe this will, and maybe this will. And I was just more willing to just try and try and try because I fully have always believed in my vision. I know that if I was given the vision that I was going to live a certain lifestyle or live, do this type of like create this type of ripple effect that I create with my own clients, that it was there for a reason. I couldn't ever imagine turning my back away from that and going back to living like another, like kind of, 9 to 5 lifestyle that just wouldn't have felt right to me. Nothing wrong with it. It's just not right to me. So I would say those two things. And the number, I mean, gosh, I guess the number one is like, or there's no order to it, but the third one might be being dedicated to deconditioning work, being dedicated. I think it doesn't stop. Like it's always going to be at every level from, clients that I've mentored that are just starting their business and making their first 6 figures to my clients that are in their 7-figure business. There's always a new level of getting to meet yourself. I don't look at it as like, oh, there's always work to do, or I have all of these blocks. It's like, this is just more and more and more opportunities to meet myself deeply, to understand myself, to hold myself, to love myself. And it's like self-love, like it's self-love work to do the deconstruction, to do the deconditioning. And with the deconditioning work, it's also not placing, for me, it's been not placing blame. It's just understanding that like, this is just how it works. Like it's almost like a little bit of a disease. Like once you're conditioned in a certain program, you pass it on to your children and you pass judgment and projections on other people based on your conditioning. And that judgment and projection on other people, those other people feel it and they're like, oh, there must be something wrong with me. Oh, a good example of that is having premium prices and other people feeling like, you charge that? Like, oh, wow, people actually pay that? That projection of their own insecurity or their doubt within themselves that they'd be able to do that, that could have very much to the person receiving it, been like, oh shit, like, should I actually lower my prices? Like, is no one actually going to pay that? Or is that really selfish? Do you see how it's a disease? It's like one person's scarcity goes into someone else and it influences them to be in scarcity. And then they lower their prices, which means they're not showing up to their clients and their containers from the best energy because they're living in scarcity. And then it's a ripple effect and it's a whole thing. So knowing that being in abundance is like the best thing you can do for yourself and those around you. I think grounding into that and being like, me being like rich and happy and healthy is going to be best for my future children. It's best for my partner. It's best for anyone who interacts with me because I get to be a part of a ripple effect. They get to be influenced or be an expander for what else is possible for themselves.
So on that note, do you have a favorite deconditioning and abundance practices that you do on a daily or weekly basis?
Ooh, good question.
Like, are you listening to your own hypnosis tracks?
I kind of go in and out of creating my own hypnotic tracks. Like I'm getting the pull again to be like, yeah, let's create something new. So yes, listening to a customized hypnotic track, of course, makes a difference because you're quite literally reprogramming the nervous system, the energy body, and the mind to be in alignment with the new embodiment, with the new timeline. So there's that. I think the other kind of more like something that you can even do today is just meeting yourself with inquiry. Like when I come up around my own edge. So like, let's say for fellow intuitives and healers who are like, oh, I have to do it this way in order to be successful. I would just self inquiry would be like, well, why? Like, where did you learn that? Like, why is that true for you? What do you get out of believing that? Like those three simple questions can open up a lifetime of gold to be like, oh, wow, well, actually, I feel this way because, I was always told not to trust myself and to just like lower my intuition and lower, my like override what I actually want to do. So just self inquiry on a daily basis. It's work that I love doing.
And let's slow that down for people. That was the questions. The three questions were why, where did you learn that, and what do you get out of that?
What do I get out of believing that?
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And
Great.
and if you feel it in your body too, if there's like, I'm feeling really anxious about this launch, or I'm feeling really anxious about, putting this post out, I would tune into my body. I would like locate it. I would put my hand, let's say it's the solar plexus, putting my hand on my solar plexus. And I'm saying, if I could give this body part a voice, what would it tell me right now? If I could give this anxiety a voice, what would it tell me? And you'll be surprised because sometimes when you're just coming from the conscious mind and you're like, oh, I feel anxious, all you can focus on is, oh my God, I feel anxious. This is wrong. Danger, danger, danger. But if you actually give yourself the time and space to hear what's underneath that, it can not only alleviate the anxiety, but it can be so informative. It can give you so much feedback as to where you currently are believing, what your current kind of like state of consciousness is around the subject. And that's where you can meet yourself with the inquiry, like, where did I get that? Whose voice is that coming? Whose voice is that actually? What if that's not even mine? Is that my voice? When does that coming from? So just continuing with the questions.
So I'm wondering if you see any subconscious blocks that happen over and over and over when people are trying to scale to the next income level or their next abundance level.
Yes. I actually have them. I have them written right. So this is gold because I have them written right here.
Oh my gosh. I hope we can see it.
Let me see. Okay, so I have it on, it's like right here. I'll read them to you. Because it's like the 6 main spirals that I'm always seeing. And that is saving people. That's something that comes up a lot. So when it comes to like creating your prices or your boundaries with your clients or setting up your containers, people will oftentimes be coming from a saving place. And that place of saving is actually not you being in your leadership. It's you feeling like you are indebted to someone, or that like you have to do something because you know you have the solution. So you have to spread yourself real thin or lower your prices so that everyone can access you. And that just isn't true. The second one is competition. And this isn't any kind of hierarchical order. This is just in an order that I have it in. But competition is really a huge thing that comes up. And that happens at every level. Every level. It's like, it's the looking at other people's, grass to see what they're growing. And it comes up a lot because people, I think it's actually driven by a deeper pattern. Like if you are, predominantly experiencing competition, you're always looking at other people to determine like your own success. That's likely serving you in some way. Like it's probably something that served you since childhood. Maybe being the best at something was actually helping take away like another type of pain or take attention away from something else. And that kind of just keeps going and going and going until all of a sudden you're an adult and you're like always comparing yourself to someone else and being in competition with others instead of moving into community, where I think people lose a lot of opportunities because they feel like, oh, I'm not going to like that post because I don't want them to know that I'm looking at their thing, or I'm not even going to, and it's like this whole strategic operations to make sure that they're in competition instead of being like, whoa, I really love what that person's saying. And I have a similar message. Let me reach out to this person and see if maybe like we can collab on something, or we can come together and do something. It's creating community that could actually be, actually more abundant for you than if you were to kind of be like, oh, I'm secretly reading their post, but I'm not going to like it because I don't want them to know that I'm reading their post. So, it's like, it's that kind of stuff. Another one is time. People have a lot of sabotage around time that comes up. It's like, why isn't it happening yet? Why is it happening faster for them? So that kind of thing can come up a lot. And I like to invite people into the idea that quantum time can also implies like there is a divine sacred time. The first year and a half of my business online, I made very little money, like not enough I was also working at a restaurant. I was, bartending to help with that. I made very, very, very little money. And had I allowed that to be the predictor for the rest of my career, online, I would have easily just stopped and or been stuck in the sabotage of like, why isn't it happening? Why isn't it happening? Instead of just saying, okay, it's not happening right in this second, but it doesn't mean that tomorrow it can't. Doesn't mean that, next month can't be the best month ever. So I actually had this conversation with a client earlier where I was always in the place of like, this could be the month. This could be the month. And I was open to that. And because I was open to that, eventually it became, true. And I still say, I'm still in my heart space saying like, this could be, this is the best month, and being really present with like the moment with like, okay, again, grounding into like that root and safety. Like I have a roof over my head, I've got food, I'm safe, like I'm not at threat, it's okay. And grounding in and reminding myself that I am completely safe, and that the time is just this illusionary ego game that we're playing. After that is definitely imposter. I think everyone can relate to some of that imposter of, who am I to do this? And, oh, I should be better at this. And the whole just like, am I worthy enough for this? And that entire game. Then there's the proving pattern, having, showing up to containers, I think, from a place of like, I need to prove something to you because you're paying me thousands of dollars a month, I think is one of the worst ways proving can show up, because you're not actually, you're robbing your client of the experience that it is to work with you. When you're showing up from a place of proving, I need to be the best at this, I need to know all the answers, I need to be the best teacher, I need to be so well resourced that like they don't go anywhere else, I need to have, and it's like coming from that place is, again, robbing you of the experience of your day-to-day life and robbing your client of experiencing you. And and the space, right? Like if I showed up to my space and I was like needing to prove to be the most psychic person, the most intelligent person ever, I wouldn't be able to tune in and allow like the subtle energy to be like, oh, this is what they're feeling, or this is what I'm feeling, or this is what they're experiencing, which is actually going to help them lead them to a bigger transformation than being the best at the best of the best, right? Like just allowing the space to be whatever it needs to be will lead to the transformation, because your client can actually like relax into the space.
I
And
had the
then,
biggest breakthrough
yeah,
around that this last year, and it was
yeah,
fully from being in a program, an expensive program
yeah,
that was for a very specific purpose. Like we were just addressing this one thing, and watching the leader of the program, like when people would try and like ask questions about like, well, what about this element of business, or what about this element of business, she would always redirect back to like, this is what this program is about. And there was like
yeah.
no guilt around like, no, we don't cover website design in this program or website copy in this, like we focus on this one thing. This is what the program is about.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me realize how potent that actually make things
Yep.
when you're like not like we'll add this in, we'll add this in, we'll add this in. Suddenly you have like this bloated offering versus like
And then you can't fully focus on the one thing anymore.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, yeah. No, and to like piggyback off of that too, it's I love those experiences where you're in a program or a teacher or whatever you're working with, like gives you the invitation to be like, wait, you can do that? Like you can say no. No, so one of my affirmations actually that I love is my clients love my boundaries and they learn from them. I really like when I sink into that, I'm like, when I set a boundary, my clients realize that they're also allowed to set that boundary with other people. And it actually is more empowering for me to be in. And yeah, so, and honestly, if someone has a trigger over your boundaries, it's just not a good, it's maybe potentially not a good fit, one. And two, it's an opportunity for them to meet themselves deeper. It has nothing to do with us. We are totally allowed to be who we are and be in our niche and not need to over deliver to compensate for the price that we're setting. We can set our price and understand our value and ground into that. And then the last one I have is our ego. So one of the bigger things that I notice sometimes is either like the ego coming in and being like, oh, well, that person's younger than me, so I'm not going to work with them because what can they really teach me? Or that person makes less money than me, so what can they really teach me? Or they've been doing this for less than I have been, so what are they? It's the ego is always trying to look for a reason to sabotage our like what we actually want to do out of protection. And yeah, it's just about understanding like where your ego is coming through. And for my intuitives, this is something that's really big, is that as intuitives, we think like because we can see into the psychic realm, that the business aspect should just be like that, like magic, because the work that we do feels so kind of magical that we just expect all the clients to come and everyone's to already be there because we've written it in our journal. And that's your ego. Like your psychic spiritual ego is preventing you from actually hiring someone who can just teach you the foundations of business and do the thing, so it shows up in every realm where we just think it should be given to us. We think it should happen for us just because of who we are. And yes, I invite you to allow for all of the miracles and possibilities to happen for you, and also know where you need mentorship, know where you need help, and like being in that process will likely open up your attraction field because you are now dedicating your energy to that timeline of, yeah, I believe in this so much that I'm willing to be mentored and taught and be in a course or a program because I believe in this. Like I totally, you're putting your energy into it, you're putting your coins into it. So yeah, those are like the biggest spirals that come up.
So good. I like all of them. I was like, yes, I can think of an example of this, an example of that. I'm
Yep.
wondering if people like self-identified with any or all of those, what do you recommend the next step for them to be for that?
Yeah. Well, of course, working with someone to move through that is going to be the probably like the best way to be mirrored, reflected, and to be led through that. Because oftentimes when it comes to these patterns, it's so embedded into us that it's hard for us to see it sometimes. And often these traits will look like personality traits. So take saving, for example. It's like, oh, she's just so generous. She's just so sweet. Oh, she's like such an angel. Oh, and so we're being verbally and affectionately rewarded for that pattern that's actually keeping you broke. So to have someone be able to reflect that to you is, obviously why we're in this industry, for the mentorship of it. No, the the help of what it feels like to be mentored through it. But then if you're going to do it on your own, I would say the biggest one is understanding why it's there, like how it's helping you. How does it actually help me to be the savior? Oh, well, it's helping me because it's helping me be really good at my craft, to be able to work with a lot of people at a low price. It's helped me, work with lots of different people. Okay, cool. But can I pay my bills? Not so much. Or am I stuck in my income? Not so much. So is this pattern actually working for me anymore? Because maybe at some point it did work, but now it's bumping up against the desire for abundance.
Yeah.
So, you have to see, how is it working? Does it still work? And what would it look like to actually have a new pattern? What would it look like to be in a different place with this experience of saving? What's the opposite of saving? What does that mean to you?
Like, want to make an infographic of this. Okay, so I'm wondering if, well, first, before we go into that, are we fine going over? We're like at the end of our hour. Can we go over a few
Yeah,
more minutes?
I can go a little bit over.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you're trying to manifest now.
Such a good question. Such a good question. So what my intentions for this new year, my one-to-ones are typically booked out. So like that's not something that I have to really put a lot of attention into, which gives me or I should say marketing that I don't have to give attention to. So I would say something that's been really coming up is creating some sort of mastermind for multiple 6 to 7 figure entrepreneurs who want to learn like the techniques between psychic development, unconscious reprogramming, and like the most abundant timeline, like the wealth expansion aspect of it, because I naturally like to teach and I like to facilitate helping people move through that. So something that I'm desiring to manifest is creating a space for that. So a program, a school, something where people can understand like these 3 aspects. Because personally, this is what's been like the bigger codes for me to unlock for my clients and for myself. But aside from like showing up for that, because that feels so exciting for me, I would say something I want to bring more into like this next year is continuous travel. I love to travel so much. And I've done some traveling this year, but obviously due to this global circumstances, it hasn't been, quite as easy, but I'm holding vision for that. I'm really holding vision for more travel. So
where do you want to go in
that
2022?
I want to go back to Europe. It's been a while since I've been to Europe, and I wasn't there for very long, but I feel so called to like going back to Europe. And I've never been to Amsterdam. I'd love to go to Amsterdam, love to spend some time in Italy, never been there, go back to France. And just, I'm a Sagittarius rising in astrology, and I really do thrive in like travel and immersing myself in like culture and language. And so I think it's just really important to fuel that for myself, because that creates so much more room and capacity to show up in my business, like to give myself like what I desire, what I want in my body.
I knew there was something saggy in you. Because I would like
Really?
question and you would like be able to go and go and go. I'm like surrounded by Sagittarius.
Yeah, I'm a
Okay,
Taurus
then now I need to
sun.
know what's your sun, moon, and rising.
Yeah, yes, perfect. I'm a Taurus sun, I'm an Aries moon, and I'm a Sagittarius rising. So
I'm a Virgo
what's
sun.
yours?
I'm a Virgo sun, Gemini rising, Cancer moon.
Oh, okay. So a Virgo sun and Cancer moon, that's very, very intuitive, because the Virgo, the practical healer, and the Cancer is like super intuitive. And then you said Gemini rising.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. So
I do too. It's
yeah,
like
it's so
sometimes clash a little
intellectual, so
bit,
knowledgeable. Yeah. Well, you have
like the
all the
Gemini
elements.
rising just wants to like blurt out like everything about myself, and the Cancer moon is like, that's a terrible idea.
Okay, so you have like the three elements. I wonder if like where you have fire in your chart. So like if
I
it's
like no fire in my chart. That's what my husband's for.
oh, what fire is he?
No, I have Jupiter and Leo on my south node.
Oh, that's your okay. So you have South Node Leo. Cool. And then what was your husband's sign?
We don't know his rising sign because he was born on a sailboat.
Oh,
He is a Sagittarius. I think he is a Leo moon, Leo rising.
nice. So yeah, all
He's definitely
fire.
a Leo moon, but I don't know what his rising, but I'm pretty sure Leo rising. We've been playing around.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. Oh my gosh. So yeah, you recognize the Sagittarius then.
Oh yeah. Oh, and my mom and brother are both Sagittarius. So like, anyways, that was a weird little. Anyways, listeners, I hope you enjoy like all the random parts of my life. Okay, so Nathaly, where can everyone find you on the internet and work with you? How can they go deeper?
Yes, you can find me at nathalygranja.com. You can look at the title for the way my name is spelled, because there is a silent H in there. But nathalygranja.com, and you can follow me on Instagram. That's where you can connect with me the most, see, my other work. I usually do daily stories and, have inspiration from there. And that's Nathaly Granja _. And yeah, I have lots of different ways you can work with me. So if you'd like to, find that out, you can definitely send me a message.
Yeah, and you have some like courses on intuitive development and stuff.
Yeah, I have intuition development. I have like how to create customized hypnotic tracks and apply it into like the quantum, so it's not like your traditional hypnosis. Yeah, I have different courses coming out about that. I have something called Oracle Codes that's going to be more about like kind of master Oracle codes that you can apply if you're already an intuitive, and it's just going to help you, activate more of your gifts, more of your channel. And of course, I always do that in the most practical way. How is it going to help you make more money, be seen in your business? So yeah, different fun ways of working. I also have customized hypnotic track that you purchase already pre-recorded, and it's a bundle with different things you can experience with that.
Awesome. Wow, so good. So I guess, do you have any final messages for us about 2022?
My final message for you is, if you could look into the future, just pretend to look into the future and access what your most abundant timeline looks like. That means out of all the timelines in this universe, there is one that is the most abundant in all areas of your life. What would that look like for you? I'm just curious what that might look like. And, journal it, feel into it, share about it, and tag us and let us know if you're listening. And yeah, we'd love to hear it.
That's like such a great like final loop together, because we started off with desire-based goals and like we're ending with desire-based goals.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you all. This was such a good conversation. Go check out Nathaly on all the places, and I will see you next week.